We less frequently, though, discuss the detrimental effect that it has on an individual's mental state. Now, Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're here for the first time, thanks for joining us. I'm Ice and I make vlogs about coping with depression and anxiety. If you feel my content could be beneficial to you, now would be the time to go on over, hit that subscribe button. While you're at it, hit the notification bell so you can stay in tune on when videos are uploaded. Thank you guys for taking the time out to be here with me. Hit that like, definitely give me some thumbs up on this video. Don't forget to share and comment in the comment box below if you have something to say. Now picture this, try to see with your ears. Let's get into today's vlog. Racism and discrimination have been defined as the processes, the norms, the ideologies, and the behaviors that perpetuate racial inequality. Racism places substantial amount of strain on the mental health of those who are targeted by these racial behaviors. The effects of racism, a salient and noxious psychosocial stressor that may vary depending on individual. It will vary depending on the individual because we all have different strengths. We all react to things differently. We all handle our stresses and our situations that we go through life every day differently. So obviously the response is going to be different based on everyone. The effects of it is going to be different based on the individual. But to provide a mechanistic understanding of the ways that racism can affect psychological processes within an individual, I think I'll focus on depression. I probably won't even touch on anxiety as much. I think my main focus will be more on depression. Because though anxiety is relevant, you still have the anxiety experiences while being depressed. So I figure targeting depression may be the best way to give, a mechanistic understanding. We generally acknowledge and discuss the experiences of racism and the detrimental effect that it has on our access to certain resources such as housing, such as healthcare, education, etc., etc. The list goes on. We less frequently, though, discuss the detrimental effect that it has on an individual's mental state. Today I aim to highlight this because I believe it is very important to emphasize that we are not at all responsible for the existence or the experience of racism. And the fact that we are unfairly burdened with the task of coping with this. With the task of coping with the painful existence of these oppressive behaviors, of these oppressive experiences. Let's talk about it. All right, so Now let me drop some stats on you. About 1 in 4 Black Americans will experience anxiety disorder at some point in their life due to racism. Social anxiety is probably the most common, with a lifetime prevalence of 10.8% amongst Blacks, followed by generalized anxiety disorder, which I spoke about in a few vlogs prior to this. And that one comes in at 5.1%. After that one, then you get panic disorder, which comes in at 3.1%. And if I'm not mistaken, the last one was obsessive compulsive disorder at 3%. Those are really high numbers for us to be going through something we didn't even put ourselves in. We didn't create racism. We are not responsible for experiencing it, yet we have to cope. 10.8% of us have to cope with social anxiety disorder for a lifetime. Total unfairness. But we're going to talk about how to cope. I'm getting to that real soon. Now, let's get into how to cope with it. And I'm going to go through 3 just basic steps or ideas or tips that may help to cope with dealing with your mental state while experiencing racism, especially in a time like now, especially in a time like today. One potentially effective strategy for responding to experience of racism and for combating racism effects on anxiety symptoms is to develop the role of attending to your values, making choices based on your values. I think when an individual is able to identify and understand your value, you can be more aware of what matters to you during the times of dealing with these racist experiences. Break it down a little bit more. Let me give you an example. During a stressful encounter, it is very difficult for an individual to remember that you have choices in your life, that you can experience empowerment in the face of restricted judgmental thoughts. You don't have to take it. Understand your value and don't sit around and say, well, I need this job, so I have to deal with my boss saying, subtle racial slurs like, oh, I didn't know you could articulate yourself that way, or I didn't know you were this intelligent. While noticing he or she never uses those types of comments to other employees, but they will to you. Other employees of different color, but they will to you because you're Black. Remember, stay empowered. You don't have to take it. You don't have to accept the racism that's being dished out to you. It's one way to cope with it. Attending to our emotions would probably be my second tidbit. Instead of pushing our emotions away or trying to suppress them in the face of racism or racial experience, I think the most ideal thing would be to attend to those feelings, to acknowledge that they're there, to understand that they're there. For instance, we know that consistently attempting to control or suppress emotions paradoxically heightens the intensity of our emotional experience. We might think about being more flexible in our coping strategies. At times be willing to acknowledge and discuss the deep emotional intensity that we may be experiencing in the face of racism. Instead of hiding from it or being afraid to say I'm pissed, instead of being afraid to say I'm hurt, instead of being afraid to say I'm afraid, say it. That's how you feel. Don't bottle it up. You have a right to feel that way. You have a right to express those emotions. It is not fair what we're going through, so why should you have to hide that you're hurting? Why should you have to hide that? You're pissed. Why should you have to hide how you feel about the situation? Why do you have to hide how you feel about what you're experiencing? That's adding to what you're already experiencing. Don't heighten your racist experience by suppressing what you feel and making it worse, making the emotional experience worse. I watch a lot of videos on Instagram and all these social media platforms of everything that's going on, and I hear a lot of different takes on it, where some people are saying, okay, we're doing too much, and there's another crowd that's saying, oh, we're not doing enough, and there's another crowd that's saying, oh yeah, we're doing what we need to do. And there's a mixture of all these emotions, and everyone has their own opinion, their own take on it. And I feel like those who are withdrawing and saying we're doing too much are afraid. They're afraid of what may happen. They're afraid of what a retaliation may be towards us. The way I look at it personally, if I'm allowed to interject my opinion here, is we're gonna die regardless. I think it makes more sense to die fighting than to lay down and die just because. Don't give up. Don't stop feeling what you feel. Let it out. Don't make your experience worse than what it is. It's bad enough that we have to experience this just because of the color of our skin. But we shouldn't have to add to that by suppressing our feelings, by suppressing our emotions, by not being angry because they may be more angry at us. They may want to lash out at us more. They're going to do that regardless. It's going to happen regardless. It's inevitable that they're going to continue doing this or being this way. So why should you not be allowed to feel what you feel and express what you feel? Attend to your emotions. Don't let them fester. Attend to your emotions. So let me give you a quick example of the self-compassion. In the face of racism experience, or racial experience, or racist experience, a black man or black woman can acknowledge that he or she is angry and appreciate that this anger is natural and understandable response to an unjust situation, rather than viewing his or her emotional response as being unreasonable or something to just get over. Love yourself enough to allow yourself to feel. My third tip would be self-compassion. As previously discussed, emotion provides us important information. It helps us to adapt to challenges that racism may elicit. However, cultural and societal norms often tell us that feeling anxiety, sadness, or anger are signs of weakness or evidence of lack of self-control. In fact, as Black individuals who experience racism and emotional reactions to racism, we are often told that we are overreacting or hypersensitive, which perpetuates the self-perception of emotion as weakness or as being out of control, as if we don't have a right to feel this way, as if we don't have a right to be upset. And that adds additional burden on your mental state. Love yourself enough to express your emotions, to be free to understand that you have to love yourself enough to not keep all that mess bottled in, to love yourself enough to not keep letting them win by oppressing yourself with thoughts, by not letting them get inside your head. Self-compassion. This was a really hard video for me to do, and I wanted to try to not make it so much about my standpoint on racism and what's currently going on, but more to provide a place of solitude for us to find information where we can help ourselves to feel better. And I know realistically nothing won't help us to feel better until this stops, and nothing won't stop it until we stop it. However, However, it is truly hard. But we have to acknowledge our feelings. We have to understand that we have the right to feel the way we do. We have to take care of ourselves in times like this. Take care of our brothers and our sisters in times like this, understanding that we have a right to feel. Don't heighten the experience by bottling in what you feel. It's not going to help you or anybody else. Let it out if you must. Love yourself first before anything else. Alright guys, I want to take the time out now to conclude this video. Thank you so much for spending the time with me here, listening to me, breaking it down. Hopefully the information I provided is beneficial to you and it can help you guys out to cope as best as we can in a time like this. It is very hard, and there's really nothing that's going to help, because there's nothing, no matter what happens, no matter what decisions are made, it's never going to bring our black brothers and our black sisters back. It's never going to bring them back. But it will hopefully put a stop to the future thoughts of reoccurring actions, the thoughts of repeating those things, repeating those actions and those behaviors. Hopefully when police officers pull us over, they have a second thought of dealing with us as humans that we are, versus treating us like we're animals, that we're wild beasts that are released into civilization from out of the wild and just running loose and causing a rampage. We're humans, just like the rest of you guys, and we deserve the same type of treatment that you guys get. Equality, equality, equality. Not the relative expression of what you think equality is. Okay, well, equality is I make 100,000, you make $10. That's how I feel like we're equal. Or you'll never be equal because your skin tone is not the same shade as mine. Express your emotion. Allow yourself to be angry. Allow yourself to be upset. Allow yourself to be sad. Allow yourself to cry. Allow yourself to experience the emotion rather than keeping it bottled in. It will only heighten your anxiety experience. It will only heighten the racial experience, the racist experience. Allow yourself to feel. Have self-compassion. Love yourself. Attend to your emotions. Don't let this take over your mental state. It's bad enough we have to deal with it. We have to find a way to cope with it. But let's cope with it so we can keep living. That's the most important thing. Thank you guys for watching the video. Definitely subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you can stay in tune when the videos are uploaded. Like and share. Comment if you have something to say. Let's keep this going on. Express what you got to say. Put everything in the bottom below. Whatever you have to say. Let it out. Let's talk about it. Appreciate y'all for being here. Love y'all.